Well, thanks for joining, everybody. We got old Bobbi B today. Let's give her a round of applause. Thanks, Bobbi.
Thank you for thanking me.
Well, so this kind of got prompted. We were, we had our meeting last week, and really just kind of chatting about shifts in the market, Q1 to Q2, and you were kind of more so bringing up, more just, how are we actually having these conversations? You say it all the time. You're either not talking to enough people, or it's the way that you're talking to them isn't converting them into clients. And I think that's where, last week somebody was like, oh, we'd love to hear more about what it is that you say to strike up those conversations. And I've been with you enough times to know that you've turned almost every encounter that we've been in public into a conversation. I think the most recent was when we were at lunch. We were actually at lunch with Haley, and the waitress said, oh, can I bring you guys the check? Your response was, what was it? It'd be a lot easier to pay for this if you were buying a home. Was that it?
You just buy a house from me.
If you just buy a house from me, right? And obviously the girl chuckles, ha ha ha. I think it's just the likelihood of that person being like, well, that's crazy. Me and my husband were just thinking about it, or I was just talking to my lender, or, so I think that's kind of what today is about is, how are we having those conversations? Actually, let's start from the beginning. Can you tell us kind of how long you've been involved, what your own evolutionary path was, and then how you got to the point where you're kind of confident with starting those conversations?
My background is that when I was growing up, we moved 18 times in 16 years. I like to tell everybody that my father was running from the law. He wasn't, but I thought it was a lot more colorful than he was with the military, and then he had a lot of job transfers, new jobs and job transfers. So we moved around all the time. I never went to the same grade school. I never went to the same school till I was in high school, 2 years in a row. I was always the new kid. And
right.
Many of these moves involved middle of the year moves. I know no one. I show up one day to a class full of 30 strangers. I know none of these kids. I know none of the background. They don't know me. Nobody cares anything about me. And I've got to somehow survive year after year after year. I felt powerfully sorry for myself that I didn't have a from. To this day, if you ask me, where are you from? I think, I don't know. I don't know if you want all my froms, my first from, my longest from, my last from.
Your last from.
Like, what exactly does that question mean? Most people go, it's not meant to be that hard.
Right.
But for me, it is. I don't even remember what state many of the schools were in. And I say all that to say this. When I finally got to high school, I met my friend Sally. And Sally was Miss Popularity. Everybody knew Sally. Sally would walk in the room and the sirens would go off. They all loved Sally. They paid attention to Sally. They adored Sally. They came up and talked to Sally and what's her name? Me.
You, right.
And
sidekick, Sally's sidekick.
Sally's sidekick. And I kept thinking, oh, if I'd just been born Sally, oh my God, if I had just been born Sally instead of me, wouldn't life be so much better? Till we graduated from high school and Sally went to college at Western State, and she would call me just in tears. She was beside herself. She didn't know anybody. And people were not in awe of Sally, and they didn't fawn over Sally, and nobody knew who she was, and nobody cared who she was, and
right.
Nobody cared who her sister was. She just was nobody. And of course it cracked me up because I thought, this has been my entire life. Welcome to my life, Sally. This is the way it goes. And that's when I realized that, everything that we have, even the negative things that we have, if you look at them, they actually taught you something that has probably become a positive for you.
Perseverance.
I ended up in sales. What do you have to do when you're in sales? talk
People,
to strangers. What was I accustomed to doing my whole life?
talk to strangers.
Talk to strangers. And so I say all that to say this. I think that people who have a from, grew up someplace, knew these kids from years and years and years, didn't learn that skill because you didn't have to. You got up, you went to school the next day, and you started talking to folks about whatever, and it wasn't a new conversation.
That's what I was going to say. These were continued conversations every day. You were just every day was a continuance of the day before. There was no new conversation.
Right. So I look at that and I realize that as a trainer and mentor and coach working with agents, a lot of times the problem is y'all are Sallies. You had friends, you grew up with friends, you didn't know how to go talk to the stranger.
Right.
It seemed frightening. I know it's frightening because I lived it. And now here we are, adults trying to make a living talking to strangers. And there's a little part of us that's going, I really don't know how to talk to strangers. And what do we do in every real estate company you'll ever be in? They all say the same thing. Well, just go talk to people.
Right.
It's fine if you tell me.
Right.
I can start a conversation with a stick. I've said that before. But what about if you didn't grow up never having anybody around? What if you grew up and that wasn't your lifestyle and you didn't have to talk to strangers, and now all of a sudden somebody's telling you in order to make a living, go talk to strangers, and we never tell them how do you go talk to a stranger? Here's the other thing that holds us back. The second thing that holds us back is that we have an innate attitude about salespeople. Here now we are one and we hate them. Isn't that right? Show of hands. All people who hate. Oh, what, at Haley's group, you all love them? You do not.
Haley shot her hand in from the side.
Because we don't like to be pushed. We don't like to be beat on. We don't like to be, we don't like that stuff. And so now that we're calling ourselves salespeople, we think, well, boy, I'm not going to be that person. I don't want to be the disliked person. I don't want to be the person that nobody wants to be around, right?
Right, right.
So now we're caught between a rock and a hard spot. We don't want to be that person. And yet our very livelihood depends on going out and talking to strangers. And yet our fear is if we talk to strangers, they're going to think we're that person. So how do we reconcile that so I can actually have a business and not feel
salesy?
Not feel what, Jared?
I just said salesy, but sleazy.
Yeah, sleazy, salesy,
Slimy.
attacking. I don't want to irritate people, and you don't want to irritate them either, right? So it's like, okay, so now how do I do this? Did anybody ever teach me how to do this? How?
Right.
And so that's what I hope to accomplish today is how do we do that? And so I'm thinking about my tact on talking to strangers is to look for something that we have in common. Look for, of course, my method is to find a way of humor, because I've discovered that if I find a way to say it in a humorous way or a lighthearted way, I don't feel salesman-y. They don't see me as a salesman, and I have started a conversation with a stranger.
Right.
So when Jared was talking about going to the restaurant, he's right. That's one of, and I don't do it just at the restaurant. I do it if I go to the dry cleaners. I do it if I go buy anything, then I say, you know what, that'd be a lot easier to pay for if you just buy a house from me. And it sounds like a throwaway line, like, if you just buy a house from me. Like, really, I can't afford lunch unless you buy a house from me. So they see it as a joke. I told my Power Series class, if you guys remember, that the way I learned that one was I fell into it accidentally. I was buying tires for my car, and they were, well, I guess $800 or something at the time. And I said to the clerk, I said, well, that'd be a lot easier to pay for if you just buy a house from me. And he goes, my wife and I were just talking this morning about getting a house. We'd like to get a new Richmond home, but we'd have to sell ours first. Maybe you could help us with that. Yes, maybe I could. And then he said, and then you see that fellow over there in the third bay? He said, that's Larry. And Larry said he wants to buy a house too. Maybe you could help Larry. So there I am with 3 deals, a listing, a sale, and another sale, all because those words happened to inadvertently fall out of my mouth that day. And I said to myself, me having a gift and all, I was thinking, I'm going to do that again. So yes, I have sold a house to a member of the wait staff that waited on me in a restaurant. I have sold a house to a clerk. I have had this work more than once. I've also taught it in Power Series and had it work for others. So if you want to remember that one, that'd be a lot easier to pay for if you just buy a house from me. Or could I use that? So I go into the dry cleaners. Well, that'd be a lot easier to pay for if you just buy a house from me. Oh, are you in real estate? Yeah. How many houses do you think you need? A follow up to that, right?
Right.
And then I get an answer. And I never, and I'm telling you, never have I ever received a hostile response. Never, not one time, ever.
Right.
It doesn't mean that everybody I ask buys a house. I mean, if that would work, I'd be way richer than I am, right? I mean, you'd pay a lot of money for that information.
Right.
So does it mean that everybody I talk to is going to buy a house? No, but I will tell you this, and this is one of the things that I think drives us nuts in real estate, is we know there's all kinds of people that we encounter constantly that actually are in the market, but we don't know those people are in the market. They don't know we sell real estate.
This is the old secret agent.
But it's not our fault. Think about if you went to the Rockies game, right? You're sitting at the Rockies game. You know, of all those thousands of people, somebody out there wants to buy or sell a house. I just don't know which ones.
Right.
Wouldn't it be nice if I knew which ones?
Right.
But I can't know because I don't start a conversation with anybody because I don't know what to say. So those dollars are walking out of that venue, and I know nothing about it. Do you see what I'm saying? It's
right.
frustrating. Even if it's the kids' sports game or something, all the parents that are sitting on the sidelines, more than likely there's somebody in there that wants to buy or sell a house, and I don't know anything about it.
One thing one thing that I think you're bringing up that I learned along the way is, I guess we call it prospecting. Prospecting, trying to find individuals who are actually looking to buy and sell. Prospect. And I went back to the actual digging in dirt looking for gold. If you never stick your pickaxe in the ground, you're never going to find gold. But it doesn't mean every time you dig, you're going to find it. So I think that's what I realized. It's a quantity sport. The more I dig and the more I try and the more I put in, the better chance I have of actually finding it. But not every time am I finding it. But if I never put my axe in the ground, I don't have a chance to even find it.
And so that's a great analogy, because that's exactly what it is. And that's what I'm talking about today. How do I increase those
contacts,
prospecting abilities, that time you can put the axe in the ground? Well, I'm probably not going to go at the kids' football game up and down the bleachers or any place else talking to each and every parent. Yeah, help! I'm in real estate.
At like the street corners.
Write that one down. Help! Right. I'm in real estate. That's it.
Anything helps.
That's right. So it just means how many more people, how do I give you a tool to speak to more people without feeling like a fool? So that was one that you could say. Sometimes when I've met people and I we get to talking and I'm saying that I'm in real estate, I immediately go, so, so do you need a house? Yes or no? Don't say no. Right? It's a laugh. And then sometimes they end up saying no. And then my follow-up to that is, listen, I gave you one line and you blew it. Let's try it again. This time you say yes, okay? And so then I'll ask them again and I'll still get my no, but I'll go, rats. All right. So who do you know that needs one? Now, they usually don't have, but every once in a while, I mean, I have sold about 2 houses that way. We said, well, no, but my son's looking for one. Oh. And do you see, these are thousands of dollars that I got just simply because I started conversations with strangers, not selling things, not walking up to people trying to sell a house, because I never look at it that we can sell houses. Houses sell houses, realtors screw up deals. That I can't make people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on something they don't want. So
Right.
I'm not too worried about being salesman-y because I can't sell you a house unless you want one.
Right.
You know, I told you, you remember gals from when we did Power Series, I said I could annoy you long enough to get you to buy a lipstick from me, even David.
Yeah, but
Right?
he's into that.
There comes a point where you just go, fine, give her the, it's $12, give her the money, just get her to shut up. You can't annoy somebody long enough to get her to buy a house.
No.
So you don't need to worry about looking salesman-y. It isn't possible. All I'm doing is looking for, my attitude is I'm looking for people who need help, because the motivating factor for me is to be the helper. I will be a helper. I will never be a pusher. I can't force things on people because it goes against my grain. I start feeling uncomfortable, but can I help? And so let's stop and think, what is this like from being the buyer or seller? Housing, big deal, right? A lot of money.
Right.
Most amount of money you're ever going to spend in one place, more than likely. And I don't know how to do it. And I'd like to buy a house. I don't know if I can afford one. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't know what to do. I don't know what the next step is. And I need help. So do you think if you came to me and offered to help me, that I would somehow be offended? I'd be grateful.
Right.
Help me. You people have information that I don't have. I don't know how to do this. What's the next step? What do you do? I don't know. And I certainly can't get into one of those houses without one of you, right? So I have to have you. You're important to me. So think about that in your own mind. Put that into your mind. You're not forcing people to do anything. You're not being salesman-y. You're looking for people who need help. If they need help, you can help them. They don't need any help, let them go. No
Right.
problem. But that's why I use the humor lines. Do you need a house? Yes or no? Don't say no.
Don't say no.
Right? And even then, when I get a no, it's like, give you one line and you blew it.
But I think, Bobbi, one thing that we all need to take note of is you're creating an experience where people would probably want to hang out with you again, probably want to interact with you, probably could see themselves appreciating the process or going through it with a person like you. And I think that's probably more of a distinguishing element than anything.
Right. And then when I give them my card, I say things like, now hang on to that. That's worth money. What, quarter of a penny, but still, this is very valuable. But I have had people call me back later, but people I don't even remember their names.
Right.
So I'm thinking one of the other ones that I use is to say, I don't know whether you know this or not, but okay, let me back up. If I'm saying I've met somebody and we've usually gotten around to, and what do you do for a living? And you told me, and you asked me then, what do I do? And I said, I'm in real estate. And I don't know whether you know this or not, but we are having a tremendous sale on houses this month. How many do you think you'd need? Okay, the humor part is, how many do you think you'd need, right? As if you'd need more than one. So they always laugh. And I'm surprised at how many times I have heard the response, well, I think we just need one. Oh, you just need one? Okay, well, tell me about it. So here's the part of the conversation that I think we also neglect. I've given you an opening line, but now that I've gotten a yes, what do I do with the yes?
Follow up.
When I've got that yes, let's look at, first of all, where am I when I've got this yes? Am I in a position where if I took your time, you'd like me to take your time? So if this is somebody that has come to my house because they're going to repair the, right? Then we've got all kinds of time to talk about, so what kind of house would you be looking for if we found it? What would that look like? So have you done that? And you know, your typical discussion about what are we looking for, that conversation. If on the other hand, we're someplace else, we're at the kids' soccer game, and really this mom sitting next to me is trying to watch her kid play soccer, and this is not my time to be launching a real estate conversation on her, right? And an in-depth conversation. So at that point, and I want control. So at that point, I'll say, you know what? I think we should probably kick that idea around. Those are one of my phrases. That's a power phrase, kick some ideas around. Well, let's kick some ideas around and see if that's even possible. I'll tell you what, why don't you write down name and number? We're trying to watch the kids play here, and I'll give you a call later this afternoon. Fair enough? Fair enough is another moneymaker. So you might want to write that one down. So if I'm in that position, then I take their name and number. Remember, one of my objectives is to get their name and number. And I guess I might do that even to the guy that came over to fix my whatever, and say, you know what, I know you came over here and you're on a tight schedule. So I'll tell you what, why don't you jot down name and number, and I'll give you a call back. And then we'll kick some ideas around and see how this is possible. Fair enough? Now, who has control? I do. I have a name and number. I can call this person back. Now we'll have a real estate conversation. So typically when I'm doing my stranger thing, I recognize that generally speaking, this is not a time, even if I'm at a party and it looks like I have the time, I would really postpone that to a better time, get name and number, offer to call them back. Then once I have name and number in my hand, if I say things like, so kind of what would the house look like if you found it? I might go that far, but I'm very well aware that, you know, I have an awareness. People came here to be at the party. They came here to be at the meeting. They came here to watch sports. They came here to do something other than talk to a realtor.
Right.
And once I have name and number, I can get back in touch with them. So then I'll play it by ear to see, or if they're really excited about talking to me, then I'll go ahead and talk to them. But otherwise, I value their time and we'll go back and do it later. But now you guys have, excuse me, you guys have the power because you have the name and number. Opposite of, here's my card, call me. You see what's wrong with that deal?
They're not going to call you.
A, they're not going to call you. Why? Why not? They liked you. They really liked you. Why are they not going to call you?
Because most people forget things 2 minutes after they got it.
They forgot and they lost the freaking card.
Yeah.
And
well, they put their
there's a whole
comment
bunch of realtor cards, and so they don't remember which one was yours.
Right. You know, but I think that that's kind of the pro tip though too, is being brave enough to ask for that contact info. If you've gone so far as to start the conversation, you've gone so far as to break the ice, you've gone so far as to share the humor and present value, and then you lose it by saying, here, take my card and call me.
Right, and that's, we lose it. And when you look at thousands of dollars that just walked out the door because, but you see, mine isn't that I'm doing something to you. Mine is I'm actually planning on helping you. So
Right.
I'll tell you what, I know that you came here to watch the soccer game and probably don't want to spend the afternoon talking real estate. So why don't you jot down name and number? I'll call you at a better time and we'll kick some ideas around. I didn't say I was going to sell you a house. I didn't say I was going to make you sign anything, make you do anything, get an appointment with me. I didn't say any scary stuff, did I? I
Right.
just said, we'll kick some ideas around. Safe. I'm trying to make it safe for you to talk to me and have a good time.
And I think one thing that you've touched on too, though, Bobbi, is you're kind of in that mindset of, you know, if I'm able to help you, ultimately it does help me.
Right.
You know, so you really, you know, and I said this, and I've learned this from the beginning is, you know, I have nothing to sell and only service to offer. And that's kind of how I actually ended up finding traction in this industry, is because I realized, wait, actually, I am the value. I'm the one that gets to help. You probably would want me to help you, you know. So
and the fact of the matter is, if you really would do a good job for these people, you have to think about the fact of the matter is you're doing them a disservice by walking away.
Right.
Because they've got a good agent right now.
Right in front of them.
Do you want them to go someplace else and get a moron?
Right.
Right. So do you plan to help people or do you plan to hurt them? And if you're a good agent, then help them. Then let's talk about the people who say, well, I already have a house. Did I lose Haley?
Yeah, they fell off.
Bye, Haley.
Later.
Oh, you know, I told you I was going to get good in the last half. I don't, that's I saved the good stuff.
Right.
Anyway, how about if they already have one? Oh, we already have a house and we're perfectly happy with it. Oh, so I guess you don't need any more houses. No, we don't need any more houses. You know, let me ask you this. If I found an absolutely to die for house in that neighborhood, would you want to know about it?
Of course they would.
If I found a screaming deal, you know, like something you could use as a rental so you'd have an income in retirement, and I found an absolutely screaming deal in that area, would you want to know about it?
Right.
If I get a yes to that, I still have a buyer, don't I? Let's investigate it. Is it they don't want to move? Okay, does that mean you don't want to own a property? And if they don't, that's fine. I'll quit helping you.
Right.
I'm just opening doors that we don't normally open. Why? Because we take it at face value. They said, well, no, they don't need any. Oh, okay, well, goodbye.
Right.
Sometimes it's the longer I talk to people, the more they open up.
Well,
And
and
then
I
they
think
say, well, I would, but my wife doesn't want to move. I would, but my husband doesn't want to move. I would, but my whatever doesn't want to do a whatever, right? And then this close will make a lot of money for you. So you might want to write this down or replay this thing. It's called If I Could, Would Ya? So if I could solve the problem, would you want to go ahead? So if I could get that garage the way he likes, but you get the kitchen you want, would you want to know about it? Well, yeah. Then what am I going to do? Okay, write down name and number. I'll look for it. If I come up with something, I'll call you. Fair enough? That's not scary. But then I'll look in the MLS. Is there something that has that garage, that 3-car garage that he wanted, has the nice kitchen that she wanted? And then can I call them back? Because what they're telling me is there's a little part of them that really does want to move. And there's a little part of them that will eventually move. And since my job is to go find people that are fixing to do that, I want all those people. You talk about your pipeline. Well, that's one way to get it. Are they moving today? No. But we'll do that another time, how to get them to move today, because I got stuff. I got stuff. Move them today. How about the if I can't afford it? Yeah, I'd love to buy a house, but I can't afford it. Do we get any of those?
All the time.
Mhm. So how about
And it's a belief, not a fact.
quite possibly? So then it goes back to an if I could, would you? Doesn't it? Well, if I could get one that you could afford, would you want to get your own house? Well, yeah, if I could afford it. Okay, well, let's talk about it. There's some programs out there that might work for you. Now, if this is my server, and that's when this conversation usually comes up, right? It's my server. I know you're busy and you certainly don't have time to talk real estate now, but I'll tell you what, why don't you jot down, and I always have paper with me, jot down name and number, I'll get back to you and we'll kick some ideas around and see if that's even a possibility. Fair enough? Well, I don't think I can. It's not a problem. It doesn't bother me a bit. If it turns out that it works for you and you can get a house, great, I'll help you. If it turns out you can't, at least you know which direction you're headed.
Right.
Right? So now I have another lead. What else was I going to tell you? Oh, here's one. I like this one. So you're in the grocery store, and here's how I accidentally came up with this one. The advertising guy called me about putting my ad in the on the grocery store carts. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yeah. The place that you'll spend money and never get a return.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I figured out how to get a return without doing their advertising. Here's what I did, and it actually worked. There was a lady that was standing there looking at some stuff, and I came up beside her and I said, could you help me for a second? And she looked at me, she said, yeah, sure, what? And so I pointed to the grocery cart advertising and I said, you know, one of those guys called me the other day telling me that there's thousands of people that come to King Soopers and they all get a grocery cart and they all look at these signs. And since I'm in real estate, that I should have my sign
On
there.
there.
And I said, I don't think anybody looks at it. So I'm asking you, do you look at those signs? And she went, no, I've never seen it. Said, see, that's what I thought. So if I'm in real estate, that's not the best way to find people who are looking to buy a house, is it? She said, no, it really isn't. I said, well, you need any houses? We got them on sale. And it turns out, she said, well, I need to move to Retirement Village. I got to sell my house. So there I ended up with a listing. And so I used advertising without paying any money. And so why not do that? Just act like you're taking a survey. Just say that, you know, they were trying to sell me this ad. And I was thinking, I don't think anybody reads that ad. Do you read that ad? No, I don't read that ad. That's what I thought. And then start your conversation with somebody. So that's free advertising that you didn't pay for. Bench ads, the same thing. You can go talk to people. Don't stand outside the bench ad because you just look like a homeless guy. But you can start conversations with people that you don't know by saying, hey, do you know what? I'm taking a survey. I'm in this class and I am taking this survey. When you see ads on a bench, you know, when we're driving down the street and you see somebody's ad on the bench for whatever, do you ever call any of those people? And of course, they'll say no. Okay, you know, I didn't think so because I'm in real estate. And I was thinking, I don't think anybody ever looks at those because I'd be afraid to call somebody that I didn't know because you don't know what kind of an idiot you're going to get a hold of, right?
Right.
And that's how I start my conversation with a stranger, as though I'm taking a survey about those or the grocery carts or things like that. Allows me to go in and start a conversation with somebody I've never seen before but it's as though I'm doing a survey, then I get to say real estate, right? And generally speaking, then we talk about whether they need any real estate. Well, as long as I'm here, you need any houses?
Well, so, I think what's nice about what you're saying right now, Bobby, is, this approach right here, that kind of survey approach, can be used face to face or even online. I mean, even if you did the same thing, like, hey, do you like this kitchen over this kitchen? Or, if you had to pick, would you prefer to, get an investment property or a second vacation home?
See how young you are. Online. Do you see that, people? Online. Online. He talks online.
Don't forget they're there.
Online.
Don't forget your friends and family are there.
Friends and family are where?
Online. Yeah.
Hey. He has no real life. Well,
or friends or family.
And you know what? Here's why we're always going to be in conflict. I don't disagree with online's ideas. I think you're going to starve if you think your business is going to come online. I have never found it to be as successful. When I want business, and here's my passion. People, you have no reason to be broke, not ever. I'm trying to give you the tools that if you want business, go out there. Why? Because we do business with people that we see face to face. We talk to people. They want to see you. They want to know you. They make up their mind in less than 30 seconds what they think, and they like you. The object is to get them to like you. So if you say something funny, they generally like you. If you say something non-threatening, they generally like you. And when they like you, they will respond to you. But if you're online, you're just a sentence. I don't know you. I can't talk to you. I can't have a conversation with you. So why would I call you? I don't know. You might turn out to be a total dork.
Well, and people work with people, not with the internet.
Exactly. So if you ever are in the position where you don't have enough money, it's because you ain't talked to enough folks. And if you think you can talk to enough folks by being online, you are going to starve. You will be out of this business in less than 5 years. Why? Because you have to go talk to the nice people. Where are they? So that's why I'm coming up with where are they? And one of the other places might be a meeting. It might be a social gathering. So I have found myself, if you guys have ever done this, you found yourself in the middle of a meeting, a social gathering, a thing, and you're standing there all by yourself going, right? Because you don't know anybody and nobody knows you. And so now you're wondering what to do. How do I start the conversation? How do I not look like an idiot standing here? Because the way to get killed is to go stand in the corner or go sit down someplace and they will all leave you alone.
Right.
So what do? Well, you're feeling uncomfortable. You're the single one. Everybody else has someone they're talking to or something, or somebody else is standing alone. I've often used this one to say, you come to these things and they tell you you're supposed to mingle. So that's what I'm doing, mingling. So would you like to mingle? So they usually laugh and they start mingling.
Well, and so this would be great for any sort of networking event.
Right. Go in and announce that you're mingling. Hi, I thought I'd introduce myself because you're supposed to mingle. So this is me mingling. So would you guys like to mingle? And that usually creates a laugh, and then they'll start talking to me, right? Because otherwise I'm thinking, what's my introductory line? I can't walk up to 2 people or 3 people. And actually, I don't walk up to 2 people because 2 people might be talking about something personal. 3 people aren't, so they are safe. So groups of people are safe, but
right.
A 2 people thing, I usually don't approach them.
Well, a group or one off, another one off.
Because I will tell you this, having been that new kid in school for all those years, that kid's just as uncomfortable as you are. You think you're the only one at this meeting that's uncomfortable, that doesn't know what to say. And I will guarantee the others don't either. They feel just like you do. Except we
Absolutely.
all think it's all us, that I'm the only insecure person there. No one likes me. Everyone hates me. Oh, Jesus.
Nobody wants to talk to me.
Right. No
Right.
one likes me. Well, because you're standing here like an idiot, they feel just as uncomfortable as you do. So go recognize that and just go over there. And that's why I've started using the mingling. Oh, I'm just mingling. You know how you're supposed to go to these things and mingle? Well, this is me mingling. So you want to mingle? And they usually laugh and go, yeah, I want to mingle. Okay, well, let's start mingling then.
Well, this is the old like, hey, will you be my friend at the playground?
Right.
Right.
And all I'm saying is that you have to recognize that you're not the only one standing there going, geez. I mean, even now, me, I do the same thing. I go to those things and I'm standing there like a boob going, anyone to talk to anybody? I don't know what to say. And I go, yes, you do. So just go do it. Yes, you do. Suck it up and go over there. And it turns out they're really nice people. But again, real estate comes down to it is a contact sport. So you, Mr. Young person, can go ahead and play with your computer and starve. I guess I told him, huh?
I'm not starving.
Okay, all right. Well, he's not starving, but some of you are going to starve if you just play computer, people.
You know,
You
but
also go out and talk to people, Jared.
well, you know, but I think what you're touching on Bobbi, you know, if I was just to nutshell it though, is genuinely just bravery. This has nothing to do with tact or approach or anything. It's really being genuine. It's putting service first, and it's being brave enough to present yourself to other people.
Well, I think that, yeah, and the scary part is we are seeing ourselves as that ugly salesperson going over trying to sell houses. Here's what I can't do. I can't go into a situation where I'm asking for things for myself. If I can look at, am I aiding you? Am I benefiting you? Am I doing something for you, for the other guy? I can do it. I can go knock doors for the other guy. I can go do all kinds of things to assist other people. I really struggle. I don't know if even struggle is the right word because I just can't do it. When I'm looking at money, if I said to myself, I need money, I'm going to go out and get some business so I can get money. I don't know that I could convince myself to leave the house and do anything. If I said, I'm going to find somebody who needs some help and I'm going to go help them, I could go do that. I could do that, but I can't do it just for me. So if I look at the meeting, if I am making somebody else feel more comfortable because now they're in a conversation, I can do that. Looking at real estate and thinking, you know, I'm not here to sell you houses. I know that can't be done. I'm looking to see who needs help. If you need help, I'll be happy to help you. If you don't, it's okay with me. I know there's more people that don't need to move today than do need to move today. I'm just looking for the ones that do need to move and need some help. And the fact that you know somebody that's in real estate, I'm okay with that too. Okay.
Well, you know, one of my favorite lines when somebody says, "Oh, I've already got an agent," I always say, "Oh, what's their name?" If I get the you don't have an agent.
Right.
Oh, Bobbi Bolden. Oh, okay, love that. Love her. You're in great hands. Oh, I already have an agent. Oh, what's their name? Uh-huh. Ah, I've never heard of them.
And you know, interestingly enough, I simply ignore that response. Because if you don't have an agent, pretty soon you will use me if you like me.
Agreed.
Maybe you do have an agent and in 5 minutes, you're going to like me better than the other agent. So I don't respond to it until it comes back a second time. I don't respond to any objections unless they come back a second time. If they come back a second time, they're real. if they just throw it out there the first time, we've already got an agent, I'm going to continue my conversation as though you never said that. And oftentimes I have found that I've gone ahead and got business when second agent name never comes up again. So I don't deal with it. If it comes up twice and they go, no, my Aunt Susan is in real estate. Oh, okay. Now we really do have an Aunt Susan. Do you feel comfortable going with family? Because if you had to fire them, how would you feel?
Right.
That'd be a problem. Actually, I say that, and here's why I don't. Another reason why I don't say anything about the other agent is one of my clients, his mother is in real estate. I sold his house and I sold him another house. His mother is in real estate at Keller Williams. He said that he had listed with her and she didn't do a very good job. And so,
Fired his own mom.
yeah, well, the listing expired, so that was the end of mom, and he called me. Of course, see, I had sold him the house in the first place, so they liked me, but they thought they had to use mom because mom had a license, so they got rid of mom and used me again. And I was thinking, well, now there's one for the history books that you took one away from somebody's mom, but I have taken it away from. Well, I took another one away from two daughters-in-law that are both licensed. So I just ignore it. They don't exist unless they exist. Unless you really mean it, then it doesn't exist.
Right.
To me.
So needless to say, this is kind of like Bobby's pickup lines is what it is.
Exactly. Exactly. It is.
These are Bobby's real estate pickup lines.
Then one other that it's 11 o'clock. I could let you guys go, or I could go for Realtor Standard Time and stay later.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Well, that's you. The rest of the people might have a life.
They can click that button if they don't want to.
Oh, good point. So things like the where do you live gig. So here's how I've used that. I went to the dentist, new dentist close to my house. And so I was talking to him about how did he pick this location? And he's talking about all the cars that run up and down Parker Road. And I said, oh, so do you live near here? Oh, he said, no, I live in Parker. I said, oh, what prompted you to pick Parker? So he's right, because I want this to sound conversational. So he tells me about why I picked Parker, and I agree and tell him my daughter lived there and so on and so forth. And we have a little chat about it. And I said, so how long have you lived there? He said, well, we just moved in 6 months ago. So at that point, you see, I've already prospected without him knowing that I prospected, because I know they ain't nobody picking up all their stuff and moving it again after they've moved it 6 months ago. Because isn't it, ladies, it's like having children. You know, you got to give it a break before you go in and do it again. You got to forget. So I knew that he wasn't going anyplace. But I also used the same line when I went to Anschutz for a medical appointment, and I'm talking to the physician's assistant that came into the office. And I said, so how'd you get all the way out here? Well, she's telling me this, that, and the other thing. And I said, but do you live close? Oh, no, she said, I live over at such and such. Really? So nice area. How'd you pick that? And then finally I say, so do you want to live closer to the work? That commute's got to be killing you. And it turns out she did. And so I ended up getting her a house. So if I could get you closer to work and still be in a nice neighborhood, would you want to move? Yes, she said.
So this goes back to the, if I could, would you?
Right. And it's if I could fix the problem, would you want it fixed? Would you want to move ahead? Would you want to take a look at it? if I could fix that problem. Now, I didn't tell you that I could fix the problem. So let's back up a second. We're talking about the waiter who said, yeah, I'd like to buy a house, but I don't think I can afford one. Well, if I could find one that you could afford, would you want to go ahead and get it? Well,
Right.
yeah, if I could afford one. Well, I don't know, here, take this, I'll talk to you later. So then when I'm talking to him later, it doesn't mean that I can find one. So how much do you make? Well, I make $2,200 a month. Well, I don't do magic, right? I can't get houses for that. So no, I can't help you.
Right.
Here's what you're gonna need to do.
Well, right.
It's fine. Do you see, but that came from I will help you. So I don't mind that phone call.
Right.
I can't help him. I can't, he doesn't make enough money. But I have over the years, many, many times had people that have been told by Dave Ramsey or something, they have to have 20% down. Do they have to have 20% down?
3.5.
They do not.
Right.
So, and what about, I don't have enough closing costs? Well, did you think of jacking up the price, getting the seller to pay the closing costs? I mean, I have tricks up my sleeve. So maybe you think you can't afford a house, but it doesn't mean you can't.
Right.
When I say you can't, it's because you can't.
Well, and again, I mean, but let's be honest, you can help most anybody's obstacle. Oh my gosh, you don't make enough money. Great, easy solution. Make more money.
Well, it isn't just
Get a
making money,
cosigner.
but
Brittany
yeah,
threw
get a
that from the other
cosigner.
room.
So here's the good news with the cosigner thing. I've talked before about how I got my sister into a place many, many years ago, Her house payment is $700 a month. And she always has a roommate and always has had a roommate. And in the beginning, the roommate only paid half. Now the roommate pays $900 a month and my sister's payment is $700. So she makes $200 a month living in her own house for free.
Right.
So sometimes I've talked to young people about, joining up or getting your parents to co-sign with you, and then you get a roommate who basically makes your payment. How about in colleges? They got 5 kids living in there. Your kid gets to live for free. You get a house and a tax deduction. I mean, there's just things that people don't know. That's a whole different class. This is how to get them to start to talk to you.
Right.
Any questions? I mean, I haven't even stopped talking long enough to ask anybody if they, if you've got a what if or a throw one at me or stump Bobby or something like that.
Or if anybody has a go-to line that they use.
Yeah. This is the audience participation part. So people, I'm looking at blank dark screens. Did you die? Brandy's gone. She's like, probably, are you dead?
No, I'm living.
Okay, well, because you're in the dark.
Yeah.
Teresa, are you still there?
She's recovering.
Okay.
No, I'm here. You make
Okay.
me laugh, Bobby.
Good, I have one. Louise, got anything for us?
No, I'm here.
You're there, okay.
Yeah.
So anybody got a go-to line that they've used that they thought was a good one?
I think for me, it's not so much a specific line that I go to, but it's just the flow of conversation. Jared, we talked about it last week with somebody else here, right? But Ford, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, no matter who I'm talking to, naturally, I can work that into my conversation where I'm going to find out whereabouts they live or why are they in town or what are they doing? Are they renting? Do they, eventually in just a natural conversation, it's going to come up. And it's going to come up that I'm a real estate agent just because I've asked them now what they do or what are they doing for work or how's work going. And they're going to ask me and it's going to bring up that conversation again without me seeming like I'm purposely getting in their face about being a real estate agent.
Mhm.
And to your point, Bobby, though I am the young generation and I do believe I have to be online because that is where my generation is. It still has not replaced that. A lot of my business has come from striking out conversations at the bar or the coffee shop or church or wherever else I'm at.
Right.
You know, and I've experienced that firsthand moving to Florida where I did not have a network, right? Where I did not have the online presence in Florida. Let's just say that.
Mhm.
My online presence is Colorado and New Mexico. So being in a new market, I had to go meet people and I had to, you know, build a new network. And that starts with just the basic forward conversation.
Let me just interrupt you for just a second, because what you said was really important and I want everybody to hear that. What David said was he got dropped off out of an airplane, landed in a strange city and can make a living. You know why he can do that? Because he talks to the nice folks. He figured out how to talk to the nice folks, start a conversation. And so that's my goal today, is all of you that are having that, you know, and we do get that struggle. So don't think you're the only weird person in the room going, oh, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Right.
But unless we get this part, we got to start step one. If we don't do step one, we don't need any more steps, because we never got past how to get started. You're probably a great realtor and you know great things and you have information and you have help and people need you. They really do. But if we don't get you past that first step, this one, start the conversation. If we don't get you there, you don't need to know any of the rest of it, because you're not going to get that far. So David's right. But he has a natural gift, and some people do have a natural gift. I could drop him out of a plane in Nebraska and he'll be in business again tomorrow. Why? Why? Think about it. Why? He can start the conversation. That's it. There's your step one. There's the step.
Well, you know, and I think even just from my perspective, you know, I mean, just in my experience, you know, I originally got licensed at the end of 06, 07, but did nothing with it until 13. And the reason I struggled is I struggled with how am I going to have the conversation? And I think once I made that decision within myself, it wasn't an option anymore. I didn't have the option, kind of like David, when he got dropped into a new place, it wasn't an option not to network. It wasn't an option not to prospect. It wasn't an option not to connect. And that's the same experience I had. It became a responsibility and an obligation, and not just this burden. So I think, you know, shifting your own mindset and realizing, you know, it's very similar to the playground. Everybody wants to play with people. Now, adults are a lot different than kids. Kids are mean. Adults aren't really mean. You know, most adults want to interact with other adults. So just being brave, putting yourself out there and realizing that we have something of value to offer people, and that's service. We really do have value. We are licensed. Even if you just fall back on that piece, you may be new to the industry, but you're still licensed. You have training and experience. It's tough. I think it's the fear. Fear is probably the biggest inhibitor to most agents and
Oh yeah,
prospects.
because you know what we do, and I know this. I mean, how many years did I do it? You talk yourself into the idea that nobody likes you. Well, they're not going to like me. They don't want to talk to me. But fine, why are you picking on you? But just go up and, of course they want to talk to you. They want somebody to talk to them too.
Well, and remember, you know, I mean, people aren't mean just in nature, and especially face to face. It just doesn't happen, you know. And I think the reason you've never had a negative response to your interactions, Bobbi, is A, your service first, B, you're using humor, and C, you're just likable. At the end of the conversation, you're not offensive. You're cute, you know. I mean, you look presentable. You look well put together. I mean, you look like you care about yourself and you care about others. And I think that's huge. I mean, if we look like we care for ourselves and we genuinely care for others, it's unavoidable.
Yeah, and just the willingness to, but you know what, and that's why I feel passionate about this particular lesson, because I've been in that struggling shoes and I understand what does that feel like when you so desperately want to go connect with people and you're so terrified that they aren't going to like you, the rejection, and the thing I did learn in real estate is rejection is not rejection. And here's why I say that. They're not rejecting you. If you think about it, here's what we're asking people. Would you like to put every goddamn thing you own in boxes and haul it someplace? I mean, that is a lot of work, isn't it? That's work.
Too
And
much.
it's not that I wouldn't like a new house. I myself might like a new house, but I don't want to put every goddamn thing I own in a box and haul it someplace. I mean, hell, look at this thing right behind me. I'd like that, pack that. That's only one. So
And that thing's solid wood.
it is. In fact, the last time I moved, the mover said, "Do you buy anything that isn't heavy?" I said, "No." When I go into the store, I say, "What's the heaviest thing you people sell?" And
Right.
when they show it to me, I say, "Well, then I'll buy it."
Right. You buy off weight, not quality.
Exactly. And so all I'm saying is it's a lot of work. I'm not saying anything to you like I don't want a house. I'm saying I don't want to put all this shit in a box and haul it someplace. That's
Right.
all. So how can we take that personally? It has nothing to do with anybody personally. It has to do with the fact that it's too much work. Or maybe it's too much money. I mean, I look at that now and think, should I move down? Yes, I'm old, I'm fat, I'm cranky. I should move down. But I got a lot of crap. So I got to do something with the crap. I got to pack the crap. I got to sell the crap. Yeah, I'll just stay here till they drag me out.
Till they make you leave.
Got to die sometime, right?
There you go.
Right, that'll be my kid's problem. So, I mean, it has nothing to do with anybody's personality.
Well,
Nothing.
so Bobbi, if I could just rewind to the, you first becoming licensed, and you've shared this story is your job as a housewife, you were no longer employed, is kind of the gist of it.
Right. I got
Right,
fired.
You got fired from your mom job.
No, I kept the mom job. I
You
got
got fired
fired
from
from the wife job.
The wife job.
Turns out it was interviewing other candidates.
Right. But this catapulted you into a position of not just necessarily want to do this, but need to do this. And I think that
Well, I do think that's a huge motivator. And why I don't like people to be in part-time jobs, because I think you have to burn the bridge behind you. And my philosophy is you got to pick a lane and drive in it, because probably the biggest success was the fact that I have to. There's no one else's income to rely on. My mother had died the year before. I can't go home to mother. She's not there. I've been fired from the wife job. He's got another candidate. I can't go there. I don't have any place to go. You better make it work. And whatever you have to read, do, say, get out, talk to people. I would have rather been a prisoner of war than door knock, but I, by God, figured out how to do it. And cold calling, that I detested. I detest them all, but I detest broke worse.
We're not providing for your family or not delivering, and to be honest, Bobbi, you and I have a very, very similar story. I was in the same position. I got fired from my job, my husband's job as well. I had 2 kids and it wasn't an option,
Yeah.
and I think that sometimes when we're put in those positions of adversity and putting ourselves in a position of just, not making the excuse and being brave, it not only made me particularly brave, it actually made me more confident, because I became equipped and prepared for having these conversations and doing the activities and generating the business and maintaining it and growing it, because I kept stepping farther and farther out of being scared of doing it. I now became confident in doing it, confident in finding it, confident in growing it, as opposed to scared where I sat for, when I got licensed at 06, 07, I did nothing till 13. That was me being scared and not figuring it out. Once I started to figure it out, it became easier and easier. I think what you shared though is trying it, readjusting it, try it again, readjust
and
it.
some of that has to do with can you give me some words? And that's what I'm trying to do today is to go, can I give you some words that if I could get you started, because you can have all my words. You probably won't sound like me a year from now. You come up with your own words. You'll
Absolutely.
get out there and you accidentally stumble onto some things that you think, damn, that's good. I'm saying that.
That's a good one.
I like this better than that one. But at least when you're struggling to start and you're thinking, but I would go talk to people. I just don't know
What to say.
what.
Right.
Does anybody
So-
feel like that? Do we have any of those people that you brave enough to, yeah, what do I say to these people?
Well, so Bobbi,
How do I start that conversation.
So I've been jotting down and writing all of the little statements you've been making and your little phrases. Would you be receptive to us sharing that for everybody?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to send it to you to proofread just to make sure I got it down accurately.
Okay.
But I think you're right. I think that this is what this is. Even if we just start the ball rolling with using these nuggets of conversation, at least we're trying, at least we're putting it out there. And just like you said, you're going to adapt your own way to having these conversations. You're going to put your spin in it, your own personality and your own flair. So sharing this. I think is
Start
huge.
with just remembering one or two of them, but go out and figure out how to throw that into the conversation and see what happens when you start them. And I'll tell you what, I would love to hear from you when a few things work and you go, damn, I had no idea that would work. Well, that's why I taught it. It will work. It doesn't make people who don't want to buy a house buy one. If I had those words, I'd be charging a lot more than this.
You'd be a witch.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, this is good stuff. We sure appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for Bobbi? Wishes, hopes? That's all right.
What's wrong, people? You don't phone, you don't write, you don't fax. Are we breaking up?
Well, I think we all got rid of our fax machines 25 years ago,
Good point.
right? You're still waiting for a fax.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had to fax the Florida Real Estate Commission last week and I legit did not know what to do.
Yeah. Well, how does that then?
Bobbi, we were on mute, so you couldn't hear any of us talking to you.
Oh, what were you saying?
I want to be just like you.
We're gonna get everybody bracelets that says, what would Bobbi do?
Well, did you get anything that's useful to you?
What's up?
What'd you say?
Did you get anything today that's useful to you?
Absolutely.
Anything you think you can use?
Yes, it's,
Oh, yeah.
All of it.
dad jokes will never go out of style when striking up a conversation.
Exactly. It works for me.
I'm the newest one to the group, Bobbi. My name is Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
And, just I was really interested in listening to kind of like you're overcoming some of these objections of saying, I don't have the money, I can't, but then talking about like the scenario with you have a kid in college, which, well, I have a kid that age and he's taking a little break, but I love that idea. What about going out and buying a place, get some roommates? I think it would be awesome if you taught a class or if I could catch up with you to get some more of like these little, I said tricks / options to give to people. Well, what if you try this? What if you try this? These are things that I don't have the awareness that, they're possible, or that I just wouldn't think to respond that way.
Stephanie,
And
we have good news.
it's one of those things that I think that when I first got started in the business, here's the way we operated, strangely enough, and it seemed to make sense to us. You found the nice people, you went out and found a house for them, and then you took them to the lender. That was the procedure. Because that was the procedure, when I would meet with people, I would sit down with them because I don't want to go waste my time out showing houses to people that can't qualify. So I would qualify them. How much money do you make? What are your debts that would last longer than 6 months? And that. I would do the conversions. I would figure it out. I would know the loan processes and procedures. And then you're qualified. So let's get in my car and we'll go find a house, right? Well, then it was in the 90s when the market started turning hot again. And in order to be competitive, the realtors would put in their contract, they would say, the Johnsons have already been to the lender and they've been pre-qualified, not approved, but qualified, meaning the lender has already talked to them, pre-qual letter. And then it got to where a pre-qual letter had to accompany every contract because of course they had to have talked to the lender. Now we go for pre-approval. So what has happened to us as real estate agents? We don't know shit anymore. We don't know how to do anything. We don't know how to qualify anybody for anything because we finally got down to the point where it's now the requirement that you send the nice people to the lender first. And the lender comes back and tells you what they qualify for and how to do it. And then you go put the nice people in the car. Well, actually, you don't even do that anymore. You meet them at the house and pick one.
Well, so next week, we're actually going to be doing a objection handling and rebuttals conversation. So kind of continuing this conversation into next week. You know, obviously starting the conversation is one thing, but then just like Bobbi said, you encounter, oh, it's not the right time. Oh, we have things to figure out. Oh, we can't afford it. You know, all of those objections is what we plan on doing next week with Bobbi.
Okay.
Bobbi? We're
Yeah,
doing it with
Bobbi. Bobbi B.
Every Tuesday.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's, yeah. All right, I'll do that. I'll do that. I got stuff. I already got another hour's worth of information in me.
Bobbi, how long you been doing this?
45 years and I'm starting to catch on.
Bobbi, you reservoir of knowledge. So
What's that?
I said, you sound like a reservoir of knowledge. So thank you for sharing.
I got a couple of things, but what I was saying with that was, do you see how that now handicaps us?
Sure.
Because we don't have any information about loans. So when you're talking to that little first-time home buyer that goes, well, I don't know if I have enough money. What's happened to my agent? My agent doesn't know either. I don't know. And so what's the first thing we do? We say, well, I'll send you to the lender. Now, depending on whether our lender's lazy or not lazy or smart or not smart, or I have just put, think about this. Average commission is about $15,000. I just stuck $15,000 of my money in
their hands. Right.
I don't put my money in that guy's hands. I learn product. Now, I'm not a lender. I don't have it all, but I can tell you what they can and can't do because I've made myself learn that. I mean, I've known it all along and I can talk lender. And that's, if I was going to do a class as to what nobody does that would put you on the standout side, it would be go get that lender information, especially for your first time people. You're big ass people with all kinds of money. They don't need us. They're already qualified. But that first time guy, what's the minimum down payment? Where do I go to get that? What can I put on the seller? What can I buy down? What can I do with an interest rate? How do I move it? Because this is all a numbers game, right? If the numbers work, I got a deal. How many thousands of dollars did it cost you not to know? Because you couldn't follow up. Somebody said, well, I'm not qualified. And because you no longer have connections to the mortgage department, you're in the, I guess you can't qualify.
Yeah.
No,
And Bobbi,
last year.
I'll throw in there that I would say 80% of my conversations that end up around real estate, we talk about houses this much because again, the house is going to sell itself. They're not really concerned about what the house is going to be. It's how do I get there? What is this going to look like? And I'd say 80% of the conversation really does revolve around mortgages and financing and what's this going to look like for us? And what's my payment going to be? And if that was one thing that I think I've learned early in my 12-year career too, was learn as much about the mortgages as I possibly could without being licensed, so that there's been times I've had to tell the lenders what I think we should do with this to make it best for the client, right? I have to get creative. I have to figure out how the deal is going to get put together. And I think that's what really catapulted my career and set me over the top is I knew more about the lending process than most agents ever were going to. And I could put deals together like nobody else's business.
And I will tell you, that's why David will survive. That he can start a conversation and he knows where to go in financing. That will make his career. he will be in the business unless he gets smart and gets out, but
Trying every day.
like 45 years later, there he is, still in it. Why? Because I can start a conversation and I know financing.
Yeah. And I'll say that, you know, when I got into business in 2011, we were not in this seller's market. We were not in this
No, we're not.
crazy frenzy where deals were falling out of the sky and you just had to write a contract. So I was forced to know how to put a deal together. I was forced to be creative with buyers whose credits were all screwed up from the crash, sellers who had no equity, right? This market is actually where I'm most comfortable, where we're going to go into, because that's where I started. So we had to scrape. That's how we had to fight to make this happen. And if anything, I'd say this last market over the last 3 or 4 years has actually hurt us all as agents because we got lazy. We didn't have to do anything anymore.
We didn't have to know anything.
Right. So
And
I'm
if we
excited to
lost
see
a
where this is
buyer, it
going
wasn't
to
a
go.
big deal. We'll get another one on the next street corner.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, guys, it's 11:28. You probably have like people to go see and things to do, life to lead.
Hey, it's 80 degrees too, so you might as well just go enjoy the day. After you work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you
Well,
guys for
thanks.
coming.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.